My name is Stephen Everly. I am running for U.S. House Representatives as a Republican in the 2nd District. I am a conservative. I am pro-life, pro-Constitution, secure borders, government out of healthcare, and I believe government should be put in its place. I don't believe that the government has a right to shut all businesses down, do these things. And I especially think government is required to protect our liberties and protect human life. This little video is on my opinion and how I came to the conclusion that I'm pro-life. When I was a child, I was looking through my father's chest that he had pictures from World War II. He served in the U.S. Army Air Corps and was assigned to duties to find the super weapons after the war was not quite over, but continually till after the war was over. As I was a kid looking through this huge Chester full of pictures, I came across an enormous number of very, very unsettling pictures. My dad was one of the soldiers that came upon the death camp, Dachau. He took a lot of extensive pictures while he was there. It was somewhat of an order of anyone who had a camera to do so. Dwight D. Eisenhower, Omar Bradley was there, and so was Patton. They demanded any American soldiers and reporters that had cameras to take as many pictures as possible so that this monstrosity, this total destruction of human life would never happen again. But we are human, and it continually happens. In fact, abortion has cost over 60 million lives since Roe v. Wade. And everybody talks about the right to choose, but whose rights are they? You have a baby that has 2 separate DNA strands from both its mother and its father. It's an individual. We are created by God. This sin is going to punish us all. But back to my original story. So as I looked at this, not quite sure of what I was seeing, I couldn't have been over 7 or 8 years old when I come across these pictures. My dad was upset that I got into them, but he thought that it was time for me to understand that evil exists in the world, and evil continues when good people do nothing. He explained how he got there, what he saw, and he understood the German Reich and also Stalin's Russia. He had to deal with them in the World War II in his position, and as a result, he understood the absolute callous and disregard for human life. He instilled in me at that moment in my time, at my young age, the value of a human life. I cannot understand how anyone could sacrifice part of their own body and call it freedom. They say it's for women's rights to choose. Half of the babies aborted are female. Did those babies have a right to choose? In our Declaration of Independence, it states that we have the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Without life, nothing, absolutely nothing, is possible for that person. We should protect the unborn, the disabled, the infirmed. The greatest gift we have is our compassion and understanding. My wife and I have 5 adopted children. We've had many foster children. There's a lot of people say, well, I'm pro-life. I'm this, I'm that. I have lived my pro-life stance virtually my entire life. And I haven't wavered. There was a time when I was a libertarian and I thought, well, if it doesn't affect me, maybe I don't have a right to tell someone else to do that. Well, it didn't take long from an argument with my father to understand if that were the case, then why wouldn't we have slavery? I mean, we're not killing these people. We're doing a great service to them by feeding them, clothing them, and owning them. He said that was a sin that the United States had to pay for with a civil war. It should have been ended not long after our independence, but greed and callousness convinced us not to do this. Not all of us. That's why we ended up with the North and the South. To some people, it was an economic mission. But I've had many liberals in my life tell me that that the black population should be taken care of, that they're not capable of education or thought or action. I find this to be abhorrent, absolutely disgusting, to think just because somebody has a different color, a different look, that they're some type of inferior. This makes absolutely no sense. It's very easy then to go from slavery to abortion. And the same party that supported slavery now supports abortion. You call slavery the great sin, but they valued slaves because they were property. We don't value children to this day. We don't value the elderly who have great knowledge and understanding about human condition and life in general. If you would ask them, they would gladly tell you what they know. I'm starting to get that age. There are days I feel like I'm 16, and then there are days I feel like I'm 80, but I am 69. I'm in great shape, a little overweight, but I go to work every day. And I did this. I'm running for office to help protect human life. It doesn't matter in any circumstance or condition. People say, do you agree with the death penalty? Under my circumstances, the death penalty would not be done in any condition other than the most egregious and, without a doubt, the most amount of proof. The Bible tells us that this should be done. When Christ was crucified, he was crucified by two criminals alongside him. One asked for forgiveness, the other taunted Jesus Christ. He came to save us, but we have to show true forgiveness and not defending the most indefensible people that can't defend themselves to fight back. I can't imagine. I've involved myself with people that were pro-abortion, and they will say, I will tell them, I said, so you include, you're one of them people that would drown kittens or euthanize puppies. And they said, that's terrible. How could I be that mean? But you have no trouble snuffing out a human life. I am totally and completely unbelieved by this, and sorrow in my heart and in my mind. I've had friends and relatives that we've had this deep discussion, and they keep saying, well, maybe it's rape and incest. Well, the child did not commit this. The rapist should be either imprisoned or, in the most grievous cases, should have the death penalty. I understand that part, but giving a rapist 10 years and a child that results in this, the death sentence, which is more innocent, the criminal or the unborn child? This is a hard decision for the women that goes through this. I have counseled many girls. I have worked as a counselor on the phone for some of the Right to Life organizations. I have spent time talking with young women that were pregnant at 13, 14, 15 years old, 16 years old. What they wanted was someone that they thought loved them. And they thought if they had a child, that child would love them unconditionally. Most of them did not have fathers, or they had terrible adult men and women in their life, and they did not have God in their life. I think today this is very difficult for the youth. Today, science proves to us that fetus feels pain, tries to survive when it's being sucked out of its mother. I would highly recommend to anyone who has not seen the movie Unplanned. Myself, I sponsored it before I decided to run for office in my hometown. When I did, I put it on Facebook, just the same ad that ran in the paper, except that it was we offered the movie as no cost to anyone who came, a free will donation. In the end of it, we donated more than $1,600 to Birthright. I had much difficulty getting the movie in my hometown. They say it was controversial. When I put this ad on Facebook, Facebook banned me for 30 days for putting up an ad on a movie that were running in theaters at the time. We live in a world that free speech is no longer free speech. When you can be censored by the form of communication we use today, we have lost the value of our rights again. We must fight to get these rights back. We must have people go to Washington that understand that the unborn need to be protected. The elderly, the infirmed need our help and assistance. This is where taxpayer money should be used, not to fund Planned Parenthood or other left-wing causes that diminish our human dignity. My grandfather was taken care of in his old age by his son. They never got along. I asked my Uncle Bud why he took so good care of his father in his frail condition. He said that taking care of him made him a better man. He said, when I was young, I thought I hated him. When I became an adult, I found that everything he tried to teach me had a reason. Many of the problems we have with the youth today, there is no fathers in the home. We've diminished the value of fathers. We've diminished the value of family. We need to restore this. Now, government can't restore this. We have to restore it in our children's hearts, in our churches, in our synagogues, even in our mosques. I'm not a proponent of the Muslim religion, but they have a right in this country to profess their religion as long as they don't infringe on anyone else's rights. We do not have anything in the Constitution that says separation of church and state. We have in our Constitution, our First Amendment, the right to profess our faith in public. This coronavirus now has given some very disgruntled governors the right to close our churches, our synagogues, and tell us we can't gather. We may spread a virus. I will guarantee you that before this is over, if we do not have herd immunity, everybody in this country is going to be faced with the coronavirus. And you better thank China. And all the people that said China is just this beautiful and understanding communist country who imprisons over 2 million Muslims, who have burnt churches, made it impossible for Christians to form church organizations. They have to pray in private. They're just a quarter step away from North Korea. The only thing they are is better about finance than North Korea. They are putting the rest of the world in peril. I hope people understand my dedication to the right to life and come out, support me if you can. But you will have a defender of the innocent in me in Washington. Thank you very much.